All right, I want to welcome in our powerhouse panel on this Tuesday morning. We start with Project 21 member Marie Fischer joining us today. Commentary editor for the Washington Times, Kelly Sadler, is back with us. Former Marine Captain Matt Tito joining us from the state of Florida. And Trump campaign aide Rick Gates is with us. Rick, how you feeling this morning?
Very good. I picked Baylor, so I'm happy. My pool's happy. Did very well.
Good for you. Did you stay up and watch this whole thing last night?
I did. In the end, I continued to watch it. It went on into the night, but it was a great game to watch. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't close. It was. They kind of had the game in hand since right off. What do they call it? Tip off. I'm not a huge basketball fan, but yeah, it was not a close game, we'll say. Why don't we talk about the situation, also sports related, and the Georgia voting law situation. I want to play a soundbite, Rick, and we will start with you. This is Jen Psaki on moving the Major League Baseball All-Star Game out of the state of Georgia. Take a listen and we'll get some reaction.
So he was not dictating for what Major League Baseball should do, dictating they should move the All-Star Game. That was their decision. They made that decision, and as he stated earlier, he certainly supports that.
All right, Rick, now we know it's going to go to Coors Field in Denver, Colorado. Your thoughts on what's happened over the last few days with MLB?
I think first and foremost, it's very frustrating that now sports has been politicized to this extent. And it's very sad to see, just as a nation and sports and what it means to us. But look, this is, if you look at the election laws across the country, Georgia, even in its new bill, is not that restrictive. And you have states that are far more restrictive, far more issues, and nobody is focusing on those. Georgia has become a hotbed of an area for election reform. That's why it's been targeted. And I think there's going to be, a lot more unsettling, information coming from Georgia and more companies pulling out, more, companies caving in to kind of this wokeness. And I think it's just a disservice overall to sports and what it does for so many people in our country.
Marie Fischer from Project 21. Joe Biden called the new Georgia voting bill Jim Crow on steroids. Do you think he was right to weigh in on this issue?
I don't think he really shouldn't be weighing in on the issue because elections are part of the state. That's the state's responsibility, not the federal responsibility. But if you look at some of the bills going through Congress right now, they want to make it a federal responsibility. And I think the irony of it all is that where they're moving to in Colorado has voter ID. And in fact, they have fewer days for early voting compared to Georgia. So they've gone to a state that really has more restrictive voting in their mindset. It's like they're just trying to punish Georgia for trying to take a first step to reform their election.
Yeah, Marie, it's a good point. Georgia has, I believe, 17 days of early voting. If you look at New York and Delaware, which is Joe Biden's home state, he was a senator there for more than 40 years. They've got 10 days of early voting. So, Matt, right now in the state of Georgia, and the numbers, it depends on what resource you use, but just about 3%, a little under 3% of people that are 18 years old in the state of Georgia do not have some form of ID. 35 states in this country currently require people to have an ID to vote. So what's wrong with Georgia doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you also need an ID to pick up your tickets at the stadium when you go to the stadium in Georgia, right? So there's a lot of hypocrisy here. I mean, going back to baseball, baseball was one of the last sports that was not infiltrated by the woke mob. Remember, it started with football and the kneeling during the national anthem, and then basketball. Everybody was wearing the, hands up, don't shoot T-shirts, I can't breathe T-shirts. And also during the bubble, they had Black Lives Matter written on the entire court there this past season. So now baseball has finally been infiltrated by the woke mob. The commissioner decides to pull it out of Georgia, the game, move it to Colorado, which, by the way, has stricter voting laws than Georgia. So this is completely just a political play by baseball. I wish sports would just stay out of politics. And also, why doesn't the commissioner take the Atlanta Braves out of Georgia while he's at it? I mean, why play any baseball there at all? So we'll see what happens with baseball's attendance and baseball ratings. They've been getting crushed in terms of ratings by the NFL over the past 10 years anyway. So we'll see what happens.
All right, since you're bringing up baseball, I'm going to play you a scene from Texas in just a moment. But Kelly, the Masters at Augusta National, a very famous golf tournament. There have been calls to take that tournament out of Georgia. First of all, Augusta National owns the Masters, so you can't just take the Masters and play it at a country club in Kentucky or something like that. It's always been played at Augusta National, and they have the naming rights. And you can't pick up the azaleas and replant those at another golf course. But that tournament starts on Thursday. Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred is actually a member at Augusta National. So the hypocrisy here just knows no bounds.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think Marco Rubio yesterday demanded that he withdraw his membership from Augusta if he's really committed to these woke issues. Listen, I think this is what's happening is really terrible. Atlanta has 30% minority owned businesses that are going to be hurt by with moving the game from Atlanta. 52% of the population is black. They're moving it to Colorado, where only 9% of the population is black and the majority is white. So how woke really is this policy? Cobb County says they're anticipating losing $100 million in tourism revenue, which would benefit these black businesses. But instead, they're taking it out and going to a majority white state in Colorado with more restrictive voter ID. It just doesn't make any sense.
And they had 800 hotel rooms booked in Atlanta alone. That's the most since before the pandemic, but everyone had to, give those rooms up because there's no more draft and no more All-Star game. All right, let me play you the scene yesterday. This is the Texas Rangers' first home game of the year versus the Toronto Blue Jays. Take a look. Isn't that unbelievable? So a packed house, Ranger Stadium there, packed to capacity opening day. It's funny, everyone in the studio here, all the crew and Rachel is looking at the screens. This is something we haven't seen since 2019. Yeah. So this is the first team to do this. Rick, by the way, the Rangers lost the game, which I thought was kind of funny. It was a 6-2 loss to the Blue Jays. But Rick, do you expect more teams to start doing this after everybody eventually in the American League in interleague play visits Ranger Stadium and sees what they're doing?
Yeah, there's no question. And you've already seen a number of sports organizations open up their stadiums to more people. And at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do. People need to get out. People need to see these sporting events. I mean, obviously with the warmer weather, that's going to be a big impact. So I think it's a good thing. And look, at the end of the day, we're going to probably look back in 6 months and we're going to be able to evaluate all these stadiums that opened up to full capacity and really understand, the impact that this had. But at the end of the day, all of these stadiums that are opening up, they seem to be doing a lot of good for the people mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I hope it continues. I
was watching some of this. The game didn't start till about 4 o'clock Eastern yesterday. I had it on yesterday afternoon. It was kind of just nice to see. You were able to kind of judge from far away. I'm not there. People were wearing masks if they wanted to, but it was refreshing because that was the first glimpse of the old normal that we've had in a long time. I'm going to play a soundbite. This is from Jen Psaki talking about what I think is going to be a very big issue when it comes to this infrastructure bill. This will be the issue the left gets behind. Lead pipes. Take a listen, Matt, then we'll start with you for reaction.
Certainly expected, and it has played out that some will believe that the package we proposed is too small. Some will believe it's too big. And we're happy to have discussions with members who have both points of view. But at the end of the day, the package that the president proposed makes a historic investment in our nation's infrastructure, rebuilds our economy, helps create 19 million jobs. Time for people to be bolder and more forward-looking about what infrastructure looks like. Infrastructure is not just the roads we get a horse and buggy across. Infrastructure is about broadband. It's about replacing lead pipes so people have water. It's about rebuilding our schools. And so, of course, we're happy to hear proposals, but I think the definition of infrastructure we have a disagreement about.
We've got about a minute left, but Matt, just remember you heard lead pipes here first, because that's going to be the issue the left talk about is the lead pipes. We got to get rid of the lead pipes, so we need to pass this bill.
Yeah, no, that's mission critical. I wish I believed a word that she said, but quite frankly, I don't. We get so used to spending trillions of dollars now that when we throw around $3 trillion for an infrastructure bill, we don't think anything about it. But I wish that more than 6 or 7% of that bill was actually going towards lead pipes. That'd be great. And how about bridges and roads? We've got over 50,000 bridges that are over 50 years old in this country. So we actually do need money to go towards infrastructure. But this bill is packed with a bunch of social experiments, social projects, free this, free that. And, we'll see what happens with the bill moving forward. But they're going to try and use the reconciliation process to push this bill through. They're probably going to get no Republican support. And, again, it's all about the lead pipes, right?
I guess so. Kelly, I'm going to give you the final thought. We got about 20 seconds. According to Science Line, about 20% of pipes, many are not even being used, are lead still in this country right now.
Well, I mean, should the pipes be replaced? probably, but to do that, you need permits, and it's a slow process. And we don't see the White House talking about any of this. You just can't go and retrofit a building
right.
in New York City and do it overnight and have shovel-ready jobs. So I think this is something that sounds good to everyone. Everyone remembers Flint, but in actuality, it's going to be really hard to execute, and they're not discussing any of that.
It is definitely not shovel-ready. You make a great point there. Our panel will pick this back up in just about 19 minutes at the top of the hour. A lot more to get to.